There are hundreds of ways for you to sell AI solutions to local businesses. One of the best solutions is the lead reactivation, or some people call it the database reactivation. And I've been talking a lot on this channel about this offer. In this specific video, I want to explain why this might be one of the most misunderstood offers and how you can fix it to close more clients. As an overview, what is lead reactivation? Essentially, what it does is reactivates the dormant or dead leads within any CRM. And it is so great because it literally can be applied to any business that has CRM and has leads inside. Now, there are obviously the use cases where the business doesn't have the CRM and you can digitalize their existing catalog of leads and push it into the lead activation engine. But this is a topic for a different video. And this offer being relevant for the past 2 years and businesses being buying it very heavily because right now we have an AI. Because think about this. You've been always, as a business, spending money to get the clients, right? You're always paying for the ads, paying for the SEO, paying for a digital services, and you are always generating leads. What is different right now is that these leads can be re-engaged with the AI, and this is the most crucial part, guys. It's not just the outreach, it's the actual engagement that is happening. So without the AI, you would need to hire additional people, hire humans, or if the business already has appointment setters, then this appointment setters, the efforts of the setters would be transferred to this offer, which is usually not worth it. So before the AI setters became the thing, it was never the case. So businesses were never considering it, and I don't know any person that was actually using or selling this offer. So the way it works is the leads are already paid for, right? So you pay to acquire them. So the business pays to acquire the leads. Again, the business can get leads through organic, but if the leads was not converted, they were interested. So this is still leaving money on the table. Now, the data is the CRM, ideally the name and the date of the last interaction. More data we have, more personalized outreach we can create, and new dormant leads come out every month to the CRM that you can continuously reactivate. Now, this is what I want to talk with you about because a lot of people misunderstand it with a simple email or SMS marketing. Now, the activation, reactivation can happen through usually text as well as voice. We are using email reactivation, but usually as a support channel of saying, hey, Susan, did you see my text that I sent you yesterday? If no, when we're confirming the phone number and we're still transitioning the conversation into the actual text. But I've been receiving a lot of the objections from the businesses that we've been pitching it to of like, oh, but we already have the email marketing sequences. Especially this is relevant for, let's say, e-commerce businesses because I have my e-com background. I sold to companies. We've been using email marketing all the time. And as you can see, the good brands who are utilizing email marketing through the tools like Klaviyo, they are usually having a pretty okay percentage of revenue, like 10 to 15% coming from the email marketing campaigns. So email marketing is obviously the thing. Not a lot of local businesses are using it, but still they do it from the time to time. So how it works, audience, existing one opts in as a customer. So let's say they are like buying something from you, they opt in to the list, and the goal of the email and SMS marketing is to drive repeat purchases, usually. So, and you usually schedule the bulk campaigns with a promotional offer. The lead reactivation is very different because this is the audience that was never converted to a customer on the first place. And the goal is different. The goal for the actual campaign before the lead lands to the AI setter that will book an appointment is to get a reply. So usually this is happening on inactivity or on the bulk upload to a system. So I'll give you an example of one of the use cases that we had recently with an insurance agency. But before that, let me explain the misunderstanding. Misunderstanding comes from the fact that people and agencies like you who are trying to pitch it to the business and say, hey, okay, let's say you're having a few thousands of leads, let us upload it to our system, and then we're gonna send a promotional material to these people, text, email, and that's it. And then we're gonna wait for the leads to convert. Usually this is not working because, again, remember, this is how the email SMS marketing campaign is structured. So these are the existing customers that already trust you. So you can send them a good offer and they'll be converted. So you're gonna say, oh, are you still interested, or are you still looking for it? It's generic, or it's a direct offer. Hey, we're having this promotional campaign, reply yes, and you're gonna get it. And so the reply rates vary, again, depending on the niche, depending on the industry. If you're gonna run these generic campaigns, you usually can expect 0.5 to 1 to 2% reply rate to the text. Again, of course, it depends on if you're sending the blue bubbles or the green bubbles iMessage or the text, but this is rule of thumb. Now, what is the right thing to do is to start the engagement. Okay, so the goal for the campaign when you're running a reactivation is to get a reply, not to make the prospect interested. So let me give you an example from, before we go into this, from one of our clients. So this is the insurance agency, and funny enough, they've been already running the campaigns like this every month, because again, they're having a lot of the agents that they work with, they spend a lot of money on the ads. And so usually they are sending the messages like, you requested a policy 3 months back, or 1 month back, or 2 months back. So they are having the different flow. They're using a go high level with the triggers based on the last time for the activity. And there's like, are you looking to continue? Are you still looking for this policy? And so the thing is that, first of all, of course, they were not using the AI setter. So they were using human setters. And because they were using human setters, they couldn't do the open loop type of the question where you're asking something generic to get the reply to then nurture the conversation further, right? So they needed to get their intent from a customer, ideally on the first reply. So this is why the reply rate was lower. So 0.5 to 1%, 1% reply rate. Out of all these replies, they were getting about 15 to 20% calls booked. So let's say if they are sending 1,000 engagement messages like this to the people, they are getting back around 50 to 100 replies, and out of that they are booking 15 to 20% of the appointments. Now, what we did, obviously the first thing, we integrated the AI setter. So now, because we have the AI setter that works 24/7, and you don't need to spend your time or money hiring the team who's going to be handling all the replies, you can be more open-minded with the type of the campaigns that you run. And so here's kind of the campaign that we're doing. I'm planning to actually create an entire video about it on this specific campaign, but essentially like, hey Julia, this is Brian, we had a conversation about your policy. Here, pause. So this is giving some sort of the relevancy on what is this message about. Now, unfortunately, they didn't have in their CRM the actual request information, so the information from the forms that people are filling out and what type of the policy they are requesting, because if we would put it right here, it would be much better. And so like, you're gonna say, do you remember? I forgot one thing. That's it. So think on what it does. Essentially, it piques the curiosity, and it is very personal. This is why, on average, right? So this is the average stats. We are getting 6% reply rate. Some of the campaigns were getting around 7 to 8%, but for the most part, most of them, because we were obviously A/B testing the different messages, we're getting 6%. Now, of course, the booking rate on these replies is much lower. It's about 2 times lower than the booking rate from this campaign. So on this campaign, they were booking 15 to 20% of the appointments manually with a human setter, but they were getting much less replies. So in this case, they have 10x more replies. So out of the 1,000 messages sent, instead of having the 100, okay, I was actually miscalculating. Sorry, it's not 100. It's actually 0.1. Yeah, so it's 5 to 10 replies. Yeah, 50 to 100. My bad. But you got the idea. So essentially, so here they were getting not 5 to 10, so they were getting 60. Okay, and out of the 60, they were booking 10%. So they were booking usually 6. So this is still more appointments than they would book here, because here, out of this 5 to 10 replies, they're only booking 15 to 20%. I think you got the idea. So essentially, we're getting more replies. Most of them, of course, are not qualified, but because we have the AI setter that can spend infinite amount of time with each and every lead, this is working very, very well. And in terms of what makes people reply, usually this is the bait message. I'm like sorry for repeating this like 3 times, but you can only have this campaign if you have a setter going. If you have a setter team that you're working with, this is great. So just adopt this campaign and make the setters be prepared to have a longer conversations with each and every lead. But generally speaking, this needs to be personal. This needs to be time specific on the last interaction, and it needs to pique the curiosity, something like they are missing or we are missing, or like, do you remember I forgot to mention one thing, which we actually didn't forget, but what you could do, like, hey, I forgot to mention one thing, do you remember? Yes. Oh yeah, by the way, we can actually like do X, Y, and Z, like we have this promotion going, or we can actually give you an additional coverage for the same price. Like, so you can, work from that, obviously, right? Now, in terms of the infrastructure, I believe if you've been watching my videos, you should understand how it works. You have a CRM database. It doesn't really matter what CRM that they're using, or if they are literally using the Excel spreadsheet, you can download everything. Ideally, you need to have your own reactivation engine where you can plug all of the leads in, and from which you're going to be sending all the text messages. Obviously, if you want to partner with us and use our system, you can check the link below. And then the lead receives the SMS, right? And if the reply is received, you can have the AI setter. Now, of course, probably every other question that I receive after posting the video like this is, hey, Eugene, are you actually doing an AI phone calls to reactivate the leads? The answer is yes, but it depends. Here I will put a video where I was talking about it. So you need to understand what your offer is and what the ICP is expecting you to do when it comes to the re-engagement. But yeah, so short answer, yes. For this insurance client, we were not using any reactivation campaign with the voice, only text. And here in this example, we were actually using just SMS without the iMessage because we were trying to save money on the infrastructure. Now, how to sell it? There are 2 ways for you to go about it. Either build a recurring offer around this solution, or have it as a front door. And I am more inclined to recommend you this system as a front door opener, because usually, again, it depends on the business. There's going to be a one-time build, a one-time reactivation where you're going to, run the entire list within a month, and then have, let's say, a 5 to $10,000 invoice for the actual build that you are going to charge, plus let's say you're going to be charging $100 to $300 per reactivated lead. Again, of course, it does depend on the volume of the leads and who the leads are and how valuable this reactivated leads for the business. But this is usually a one-timer plus the performance-based offering. Now, this is not the best service to sell for the high tier retainers, because if you think about this, if the business is not generating thousands of leads every month, you cannot really justify paying $2,000 for you to have the system going on the business, backend, so that it reactivates the leads every month. So usually if there is a retainer, it's 3 to 6 month contract. So every quarter or every 6 months, we're gonna run the reactivation campaign. Now, there are similar offers like this that we run, for example, for the no-show recovery, which is more like closer to where you're going to be charging a monthly, because you should recover the no-shows as fast as you can compared to the dormant leads. Just keep that in mind. But usually we never sell if you ask me, so what my agency does, we are selling it as a front door, especially when we're running ads to get the people in. They're interested to integrate AI into their sales processes, into their pipeline. We're running this as the front door offering, and then we stack the ads, lead gen, or something like the speed to lead, something like a review rebate, something like the follow-ups, the triaging, or the no-show recovery on top of that as a fat retainers. Okay, so this is basically like a flywheel. So the lead enters, 3 months of no activity, then you trigger. So ideally you need to have a trigger. If not, then you're going to be doing it manually through the VA. AI setter gets the reply, books an appointment. For those who you were not able to book, nor let's say didn't reply, you feed it back into the CRM with a specific tag, and the loop essentially ends. Now, how would you store it? First, you need to ask yourself, does the business that you work with has at least 3,000 unconverted leads in their CRM? If no, usually this is not worth it. The only thing when it can be worth, so when you have smaller number of leads, is when they're selling a high ticket services, so each lead worth much more. So then, yeah, obviously this is not going to be relevant, and you need to understand what is actually going to be the value, because if you do everything that I said above, you can expect, let's say, 4 to 10% reply rate on your campaigns, and then you can expect 20% bookings, let's say conservatively, let's say like 15% bookings out of all the replies. So now, whatever, you can ask the business what is their closing rate on all of the bookings, because usually on these reactivated bookings, the show up rate is a little bit lower, because this is not like that high of the intent leads as the lead who was generated through the ad. But it all depends on what type of the conversation the actual setter has with this lead, and what type of the commitment it got from this lead. So this is kind of like the, what you can plan for. Okay, so after this is after you recalculate this before going to the business and pitching them how much it's going to cost, understand if this is going to be the value, and then you can go backwards and understand how much you should charge. But if yes, again, write the message, set up the AI setter if you're going to be doing that, or prepare the human setters, run the first batch, full list, 30 days, lump the sum, and then finish by selling the recurring offer.